Welcome back into Exit 99 Sports. As always, my name is Caleb Deloach, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. It is Mr. Rusty Hendricks. Rusty, thank you for joining me.
Special, thank you.
Yeah, very special. Very special. Rusty, tell the people exactly what all you do. I know you're Rusty, as many of you know, has called games for a lot of different teams, Notre Dame over the years, and all various sports. Cape Central this past season, I know, in football. You have weekly show on Saturday mornings as well. You know, what all, job titles and other descriptions do you fit into right now at the moment?
Job title is a husband and and a father of two little rascals. That's my job title right now. But I just recently started a new position at River Radio, so sports director there now. So I guess you can blame me for stuff that goes on wrong involving sports at the radio station. But no, I've been there for a little while now, since 2013 in a part-time capacity, and I've been calling games ever since. Did a lot of Sykeston games for a long time. Called Cape Central. I've sprinkled filling in here and there with some Jackson games. I was actually, did their game. I'm trying to remember what year it was, but when the quarterfinal, when they played Battle, I did a game that they played, a football game at Mizzou, nice. A semi. So anyway, I've done a few of those games. Obviously Notre Dame for the past several years for basketball and baseball and whatnot, and a little
bit everything, a little bit everywhere. And you're an advanced grad, so you can't be accused.
Grad.
You can't be accused of being biased either. So.
I'm not biased. Growing up in
no
Advance,
football interest there.
Growing up in Advance, we didn't like any of the big schools. So
yeah,
we were little guys.
You did have the permanent chip on your shoulder.
That's right.
So guys, we're gonna kind of get into this. Talk about our three teams here in Cape County. Cape Jackson, Saxony. I said we might sprinkle in a little bit of Notre Dame at the end. Just talk about, hey, they're gonna get football. What do we think about it? And all that jazz. We're gonna talk about how those Cape and Jackson might fit in the SEMO Conference and anything else that comes to mind. So
sounds good.
Jump right into it. I'll start with Cape Central, team that you got to see week in and week out this past year. The Tigers had a good season. They're coming off, 3-year stretch where they've won 38 games. One of the best, there's no research. This is the in my head stat of the day, is like one of the best stretches in school history to my knowledge. And but there's a lot of question marks going into this year. They lose a lot of guys that were super talented off last year's team, and probably going to be a lot of new faces filling in.
Yeah, there'll be some new faces, some star power, I would say, is coming off the field. I mean, you think of a guy the last several years, you think of at Cape Central, you think of Keyshawn Boyd. The weird part is that early on in the season last year, he was gone. He was hurt.
Right.
He literally, played for about a half. Yeah. To start the season, broke his fibula, and he was done until late on in the year. It was kind of amazing, Caleb, that he was able to play.
Yeah.
Came back right before playoffs. But he was a guy that seemed like year after year, 2,000-yard rusher. He was a guy. He broke the touchdown record at Cape Central.
Yeah,
I mean, he was right there in the top couple as far as yardage and everything as well. So, all said and done, I mean, his career was one of the best in Cape Central history.
Right.
To lose him is tough. But, again, being injured for majority of the year last year, we saw a guy in Torrance Murray step up, and that guy turned out to be, a stud. He was great running the football, one of the better running backs in the area last year, a guy that, even though his small stature, he did a great job of running in between the tackles, but he also had that element of speed that he could bust it outside, and he gets free that he could take it to the house.
Yeah, so he had legit track speed.
Absolutely. And so those are two guys that come to mind in particular. They had some guys on the defensive end. Brayon Clemens comes to mind, obviously on the back end going to Missouri State. There's some other guys as well that they miss. So they got to replace that. You got to replace some of their all-conference type of guys on the offensive line. But they do have, some decent players coming back. And one thing about Cape Central, they always have talent. It's a matter of how do they mix, how do they use them. And I will say this, that since he moved over to the Cape Central side, he was at Saxony for so long, but now in his, I believe his 8th year at Cape Central, and that's Kent Gibbs, the Hall of Famer. He was inducted in the Hall of Fame, I think, in 2012.
Yeah, he's been a Hall of Famer for a while.
So in my opinion, he's one of the better coaches in the area. He really is. And he has a great staff. You look at his staff. I know Jackson has obviously a really good staff as far as coaches that are underneath Coach Nesbitt, but Kent Gibbs as well. I mean, my goodness, you look at some of those names, former players, Al Young, one of those guys, right, that used to play at Cape Central. That was probably one of the best eras, by the way, of Cape Central football. Sure. The Coach Norman era. But look, they're going to have some talent. Can they put it together offensively? I think is the key. Kind of their MO the last, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years. Caleb has been kind of defensive first. Let's hold the opponent down. Let's try to run the ball. Churn the clock, make it a short game. Get to the fourth quarter, right? Hold the ball, play field possession, that type of thing. So that's kind of been their MO. They haven't scored a ton of points the last couple of years. They do have a returning quarterback, and that's going to be key for them. Aiden McGuire. He's a guy that he was kind of a game manager. If you had to give a kind of mantra or style to him, so I want to be able to see him open up the offense a little bit, see him throw the football down the field a little bit more. I'd like to see them a little less one-dimensional. I want to say they ran the football about 65% of the time, 67% of the time, something like that. So I'd like to see them be more of a, maybe a 60-40 split or something like that.
Almost exactly 300 more carries. They had 447 carries on the season. They had 148 pass attempts on the season.
Yeah. So I'd like to see McGuire, I think, just shy of 1,000 yards passing. I'd like to see him get over that this year. I think that'll be a good mark to see, okay, if Cape Central can have success, can Aiden McGuire get to 1,000, 1,200, can he at least push 1,500 yards passing? Right. If that's the case, I think you're saying, okay, Cape Central's having a good year.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of what separated them in the big moments and the big games, the better teams they played was, I think back to the last game, which was at Farmington, that district championship. I mean, Farmington just played, one-on-one with any guy on the outside and just had every single player in the box outside of that. Yep. I mean, there was 8, 9 guys in the box. Every time they snapped the ball, they're just like, we're just going to bring the house. We dare you to throw it over us. And that was kind of that was what happened in the St. Dominic game, for example. And, those big moments, it was kind of just, that was the separator was, the passing offense. But, we want to see a jump on that side of the ball. But the problem is, there's 72 receptions this past season. And the names I'm going to run through here, you tell me what they all have in common, Rusty, is Jathan Spain, Martavian Robinson, Breon Clemens, Terrell Grove, Deshaun Sims, Keyshawn Boyd, Torrance Murray.
Yeah, they're all gone.
None of those guys play for Cape Central anymore.
They're all gone.
So that is going to be kind of the biggest question mark for me, I think. I would agree. Maybe immediately is just like, hey, you've got, there's guys that are coming back with experience taking handoffs, things like that. But, I mean, who are these guys? How are they going to adjust? I know they're playing, I think, and I saw it a little bit over at the Jamboree, is to play some of those guys that were really good defensive backs both ways, things like that. Some of those guys are going to get more opportunities on the offensive side because, we talked about there's a lot of flux on the offensive side, but the defensive side has a lot of talent coming back. Your leading tackler and Logan Margetta is going to come back. Yeah. JoJo Hamlin at the linebacker spot. Both those guys were phenomenal there in that second level of the defense. You've got Malachi Johnson was second team All-State defensive back. Him and D. Williams both had 5 picks, I think, this past season. So the defensive side definitely has some playmakers coming back.
I would agree. And that's why I think that, I don't have a lot of question marks when it comes to their defense. They have Taquan Hunt down on the line or even off the edge. He's another guy to throw in there. They have some guys on defense that's going to make plays. It's going to be good. And Malachi Johnson's a guy. Can they use him a little bit more on offense? He was a good defensive back for him. He was a good guy in the secondary. Can they use some of those guys both ways? They have a few guys coming back on the line as well. So I don't have a lot of question marks, like you said, about the defense. It is the offense. We expect. It's not going to be just one guy that they're going to hand it off to. It's probably going to be 2, 3, or 4 guys that they use in that running back circle.
Yeah.
I was told that there's probably not going to be a guy that's going to run the ball 20 times a game for them this year.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good thing. Keeping guys fresh, keeping guys available, that you're not maybe pushing guys as much both sides of the ball that they have in the past. They haven't had to do that, but when you're more, I guess, athletic players, you want to get them involved in as many snaps as possible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what's that balance of
Right.
how do we keep these guys on the field and healthy for weeks to come?
Yeah. And a part of, running the ball, protecting the quarterback is that offensive line. They do lose some seniors in that spot, but, for those that, are watching us now, you can go back a couple episodes ago. I talked to Coach Stephen Hemby, who is the offensive line coach for Cape Central, and he's positive on that side of the ball because, it wasn't a positive at the moment, but a lot of guys got hurt on the offensive line this past year.
He did.
He lost, some big-time seniors like an Isaiah Husky for, midway through the year that was knocked out for the year. But when you have injuries and different guys get playing time, so, a guy like Jamie Adams slid in there as a freshman, had to move over to left tackle. You had Wyatt Seagraves has gotten a lot of experience at multiple positions on the offensive line. Those were two he mentioned that he's really high on. And Jamie Adams is, he's a kind of a special type of freshman where he was, an all-state type of kid, throwing shot and discus most of the year, one of the best in the state that is. So you've got a lot of talent coming back up some talent coming back up front, some guys who have experience, a little bit unproven, and then I don't know when they're going to come along, things like that eventually, but that second unit the other night at the Jamboree has a lot of really young kids, a lot of freshmen on the offensive line, but they've got some monster young kids. So this I don't know if this could be a thing that bears out this season. It might be a next year type of deal, but there's a lot of young kids over there at Cape Central that are going in their freshman year. For those who don't know, I get the pleasure of having a wife who's a middle school counselor over at Cape Central. So, a lot of students will come back or whatever throughout the years. And one day I was over there with her, and there's this kid walks in the door and oh, hey, Mr. Loach, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this guy's 6'6", 300 pounds. I'm like, who's it? I'm like, when'd you have this kid? He's like, oh yeah, I think he's gonna be a freshman this year. A kid named Deontay Gwynn is 6'6", pushing 300 pounds, massive kid. So there's some real size coming up through the pipeline. Obviously, offensive line, it's a lot of kind of meshing and having experience more than it is even size and things like that, because they are losing a guy in Connor Poole, their all-state center, who I don't know if he ever eclipsed 200 pounds when he was playing center, but he was still an all-stater even at that size, an all-state wrestler as well. So there's going to be some pieces to work with there up front, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. You mentioned Jamie Adams, a freshman last year. He's going to get a lot of time. Sean Wade's another guy. Warner Durham, who was 6'3", 250 for them last year as a junior. I expect him to be maybe on the right side or left side of the line, on a corner or bookend. Then you have Iverson Dorsey on the defensive side. Yeah. He was a guy that was good for them. RJ Gafford. So they have some guys like that I think can help them out. And you said they have some depth. I do like some of their younger guys, the kind of the pipeline you talked about with their JV squad that's going to get more opportunities potentially if needed this year. So can Cape Central stay away from the injury bug? We'll see. Every team deals with that. But when you have depth, that helps and makes a difference. And this year, I do think that they have some depth in some of those other spots that maybe they didn't have as much in before.
Yeah, and depth at the end of the day, especially in football, especially because, it's unfortunately a part of the game, but, you don't play it, you don't hope for it to happen, but you got to plan for it because you mentioned it. Hey, you had a guy in Keyshawn Boyd that you're hey, you're going to get the ball 300 times this season if we can let you. You're going to get the ball 25 times a game.
6'1", 215, 220 as a running back.
And it's our entire offense, it just revolves around this one guy. And like you said, he played barely maybe 2 quarters, and then you didn't see him again until week 9, 10, whatever it was. So you got to be prepared for that. And they do have good depth. There's going to be some guys that step in. The one that stood out, I believe it was, because I mentioned there's going to be guys playing both ways, and one guy that kind of jumped off the page offensively was Colin Chastain, who played quite a bit on the defensive side, defensive back this past year. I know he had 48 tackles. He did not catch a ball, I don't believe, on the offensive side, but
Correct.
He stood out. He made a couple of nice catches in the Jamboree the other day. He mossed one kid. I might put some of these. I took 1,000 video clips of all this. I didn't.
We got to see it.
I'm in the I'm protecting state interest there.
Okay.
Not wasn't letting anything out. No game planning here allowed by Liberty Wentzville. But I was pretty optimistic, and some of the guys on the offense as well, like the running back group that included Izzy Bridges, Mikael Boyd this past year, and there's going to be a couple other young guys there as well. Marshawn Pierce, who's only going to be a sophomore. Ezekiel Sumner was another kid. He came in with that second group, and he was just running through defenders, running by defenders as well. So, I mean, it feels like a school that's always going to have talent back there in the defense and the running back in the backfield. But, yeah, it's just kind of what can they do around outside of that to take some of the stress off of it.
Yeah, you mentioned, Chastain. He was a great free safety for them. He got injured and missed a couple of games, and you saw that at different points throughout the season, the impact that he makes on the back end. But hopefully that he can use him a little bit more on the offensive side. Christian Murdoch's another guy.
He's another guy.
I think they're fairly similar, but both of those guys could go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe when one is having some success on offense, maybe the other plays more on defense.
Yeah.
That it could be with something like that. RJ Jennings, another guy that he's interesting to me because I've seen him a little bit running the ball out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him split out wide as a receiver, slot guy, or something like. He has speed, he has athleticism. So can they use him in different spots? So those are some of the guys that you mentioned. The running back room. I think it'll be Izzy Bridges and probably Kel Boyd that'll get most of the carries to begin with.
Yeah,
but Pearson, Sumner, both. I saw Sumner last year at different spots. In some of those mop-up duty type, and he looked good. So Sumner as well, a young guy that can he get his feet wet early, get a little success, and get, if you have the offensive line, playing well, maybe he can be a guy too that can help you.
Yeah. And then, I mean, one of the luxuries that Cape Central has is in the kicking department.
That's right.
I mean, that's kind of a big X factor for him. You have a guy, I mean, legitimately, if you get, much inside of midfield, like, hey, we're kind of stopped here. We're at the end of the half, whatever it might be. They don't really have any fear of throwing Joey Charlton out there with, 45 up to 50 yards probably. He's a legit weapon. This past year he was perfect inside of 30 yards. He made a few at 40 plus this past season. Yeah. So I mean he's a legit weapon there in the kicking game, and I mean one of the best in the state probably.
Yeah, I think his career high is 47. I don't know if it listed there or not, but I mean he could legitimately have a chance to kick you a 50-yard field goal, and not, like you said, that doesn't happen in high school football often. No. He has in his career, 85 to 90% PAT rate. I mean, he's over 35 to 40, PATs in his career. So he's a guy that has experience. He's been doing it a while. The coaching staff believes in him. And, I talked about last year with Coach Gibbs, at different times, can you use him as a weapon?
Yeah.
And not only in as far as, with points on the board, field goals, but it's also on kickoffs, Caleb. I mean,
huge. Yep.
If you can put the ball in the end zone, prevent a team that maybe has some speed or has some success in the kicking game or return game rather, and you limit them from, on those run backs, making them start from the 20 every time, right?
That's a huge difference.
It makes a difference.
Yeah, it's obviously just like duh math, but if you make high schoolers have to drive 80 yards every single time as opposed to, like you said, 60, 65, like that is a massive difference. That's another first down and a half you're going to have to get each and every drive. And Joey has that ability to put in the end zone. So special teams are very impressive with over there. And because, I mean, you look at some of the best teams in the state of Missouri. I mean, Jackson plays, Cardinal Ritter a couple times, and I mean, they're going for it on every 2-point conversion because they don't have a kicker. And it's like, you've got kids from 500-mile radius going to your school. One of these kids know how to kick football. Like East St. Louis. Now they did have the luxury of getting like maybe the best kicker in America to magically show up at school there this year. But like this entire past season, they're maybe the best team in the entire Midwestern United States, and they didn't have a kicker. So like it makes a huge difference, I think.
Absolutely. And again with Joy, that'll be a weapon for them to have. And how do they use them? That's going to be key for Cape Central too. So anytime you can have a little edge here or there, you take it in high school football, and that'll help Cape Central for sure. I think about one game that made a big difference in last year when they played Live for Life, which Live for Life, by the way, is the team that beat Dexter down at the Wild. Dexter had an incredible year in Class 3, but Live for Life came on a mid-season game against Cape Central at Central. It was a back-and-forth battle, and one of the big differences in that game was a field goal by Joey Charlton.
Yep.
They won by 3 points, I believe, and that was the difference.
Yep.
So it does matter because that was a team, Live for Life, that they were the same way.
Yeah.
They went for 2 every time, and so that having that extra field goal in your pocket is big.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then Alex Owasco is going to be back punting. He did a good job. I know he had the one of my favorite plays of the year where he just I don't even remember if he dropped the ball or something when he went to punt it, and then he just like picked it up and there was nobody within 80 yards of him. He's just like, I guess I'm going to run for this now. Okay.
Yeah.
He has I want to find the stat. He has 1 carry, 29 yards. Perfect stat. That's all you want. But yeah, Cape Central, they've kind of gotten to a point where there's an expectation there of, winning games they should win. They're going to challenge themselves a little bit once again this year on the schedule. According to Misha, there's been a little bit of a scheduling change. The last time when I talked to Coach Hemby a few weeks ago, you had Live for Life that you just mentioned was on the schedule at the end of the year. Instead, now they're not there. It is at Caruthersville. So a little bit of a change there. Obviously, Caruthersville, a little bit more local. You are going to drive down there, smaller, Class 2 school, I think they were last year. So it's going to be a different look and different feel for sure. But, a tough schedule. I mean, obviously, you've got to play in conference, and in conference is Jackson, who's one of the best teams in the state, at Farmington, who has one of the best coaches in the state coming into year 2 there with Coach Eckley. And then, Sykeston, Poplar Bluff, always big rivalry games. They're at Bluff this year. So, I mean, the schedule is going to challenge them. And, the fun one, I think, there is at the very end of the season, homecoming. They're hosting Dexter.
Yeah. We'll see what team that Dexter has this year, but I expect them to be at least similar to what they have been the last couple of years. Yeah. And, they've been really good. So I think they're going to give them a challenge. I had the pleasure of watching Sykeston take on Dexter many years in a row, and Dexter always gave Sykeston a challenge, and that was when Sykeston was a more competitive team than what they have been. So, I mean, that's the thing, too. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you look at a team like Poplar Bluff, if you look at a team like Sykeston, I think they both have an opportunity to be improved and better this year. Would you agree?
So. Yeah, I'd definitely say so. They bring back quite a bit.
If both of them are improved, if you know that Farmington's going to be one of the best teams in conference, or one of the best teams, south of St. Louis, you know what Jackson is. We'll get to Jackson, but Jackson's Jackson.
Yep.
So look at the other teams on their schedule. There's not any really cookies, right? So they're testing themselves, and that'll only make them better down the road. But it's going to be a tough year.
Yeah, for sure. They started out home against Liberty Wentzville. To my knowledge, no other meetings previously between them. Liberty, they're a classic school. So where this past year they went 7-3. They do lose a lot. Went and looked up all that stuff. They do lose a lot of guys coming into this year. Quarterback, their leading rusher, leading receiver. So there's going to be a lot of new there as well. So they're both going to be maybe in the same boat a little bit, but
maybe a good thing you catch them early.
Yeah, very, very good thing you probably catch them early. So a very good start. You're playing St. Charles West at St. Charles West week 2.
It'll be a tough game.
Cape has won, I think, 4 in a row against them, and so St. Charles West playing at home is going to be looking out for revenge. And then the other out of conference one, Gateway. Look, I don't know what to expect necessarily out of Gateway. Gateway has put up a good record. Now, they haven't played the greatest competition in the world, but they've had back-to-back one-loss seasons. You don't just show up. You don't just show up and do that.
They're going to have athletes. So
that'll be interesting. Another one that's first ever meeting, and then whenever you talk to Coach Gibbs, we won't get this answer probably right now, but ask him there's somebody's best friend, like a St. Charles West graduate or something that works at Cape Central or something. They have played. What did I?
They played them
14.
For a little while
They've
now.
played 14 times since 2010.
Yeah.
So They play almost every
I
single
don't know
year.
what the connection is there, to be
It's
honest.
just a really random thing that I've noticed, and I want to know now. I asked Coach Hemby. He's like, no, I don't know. We just play them all the time. So it is what it is.
It's one of those things. They got started early. That maybe they enjoyed the back and forth early. Both of those teams probably. It's like, look, you play around the area a lot. You want to be able to play different types of teams, different types of opponents. You get different officials when you. Just the way it is. You go play in St. Louis, it's officiated different than it is in Southeast Missouri. It is, right? Same thing. So you get all of that experience. You learn. You have the long road trip. Maybe that kind of test your players and see, okay, this is what it's like when you get to postseason time. All those factors. You never know what a coach thinks like or but all those things that they look at and say, okay, whatever we can do to prep us and get us ready for playoff time to make us the best team. And if you think that can give you an advantage, that's some of those reasons why you do it.
Yeah, sure. And it looks like this is just a random note. I think every game's going to be on Friday this year. So no Thursday games for you this season.
Knock on wood.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
Barring anything unforeseen. But at the moment, everything's scheduled to be on a Friday. So let's move over here to the northern part of the county, over to Saxony Lutheran. I mean, look, Saxony is a team that is only going into their third year in existence of having football, right? They JV year one, they went undefeated, playing JV teams, obviously having a lot of older guys kind of competing against younger guys. That's just going to be the way it is. They step up into varsity competition this past year. They win 4 games. There was a little bit of a tough stretch in the middle of the year where they're playing some tough teams, going on the road, playing a lot of, kind of odds and end places at times, going on skid, win the last couple games, and before losing in districts to a really good Hayti team that went on a nice run in the postseason as well. Who, you and me talked to Coach Robinson the other day. Sounds like they're going to be pretty darn good again this year. But you know what? I don't know. Like what's your impressions of Saxony program? What is it still weird to be like, yeah, Saxony? Got to like put them in the schedule here for football conversation. Like, has that even gotten like through to you yet here?
Maybe a little, but honestly, it's especially after last year being their first varsity season, now it feels real, and the fact that they actually played some games at their home stadium too, right? They got through that midway through the season last year. Now I'm excited. Honestly, I'm excited to see what they have. One of the questions we talked about, on a different show between the two of us is that we talked about, okay, what class are they going to be in?
Yeah.
We don't know that quite yet as we air this today. They were in Class 1 a season ago, but as far as school size, probably should be a Class 2 school, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So if they are in Class 2, that does make a difference.
Yeah, especially postseason. It's going to be a big difference.
I wonder, too, at some point, are they going to try to get into the SEMO Conference, move in to play, play more teams around the area? That the first couple of years, they have played some out-of-state teams and some different types of teams. So I'm interested to see how that evolves as they go along. But I think they did the right thing, and they've done a great job with their administration and their coaching staff early on with O.J. Turner and company and all that they have, obviously with Coach McDowell that's in there now, and the involvement of the Bennetts and things of that nature. So they do a great job, and O.J. knows what he's doing, knows what he's talking about, and he's going to have his team prepared. Yeah. And I think, look, first year really getting a taste of varsity football, I think that's really going to help this program not only this year but years to come. So I expect them to make a jump. Now, does it result in wins? I don't know. Right. But I do think you're going to see some of those little things that maybe weren't there last year. They're going to be covered up and be better this year. I think we both agree that the offense is going to be there. Yeah, they have some skill position guys that can do some things. I think they're going to be better on the defensive end. My question is, what about in the line of scrimmage? Can they win the line of scrimmage battle? That's where they struggled at times last year. Yeah. So those are some of those things. But again, they're going to be well coached. I think that having that extra year of experience is going to help some of those guys, because a lot of the guys were young and they're back.
Yep.
They didn't lose at least a ton from their team last year. So I think those are important factors. And I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yeah. You mentioned it. Offensively is kind of where they hung their hat this past year. Even in the games they did lose, they put up some big numbers a lot of times.
They had some fun games.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, the highlight for me was the Perryville game where, it's like they lost a few games and maybe some teams that were, I would say not as good even as Perryville. And it's like, hey, Perryville Class 4 school on the road, like this is gonna be tough. And then
they were a good team, 7-4 last year.
56-42, just absolute shootout, Big 12 type shootout over there.
The Marquette Catholic game was good too. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, and then this season you're going to get a lot of that back, like you said. I mean, they're led by Kai McDowell. Kai McDowell going to be a junior this year, quarterback. He's been the guy year one as a freshman, now as a sophomore, year two. Last season, he looked really good, put up good numbers. He distributes the ball. He's a really good athlete. He can, move around in the pocket, get outside the pocket, which was necessary sometimes, with an inexperienced offensive line and maybe guys a little undersized against some of these opponents they're going to play against. And, he's, in my opinion, he's one of just the best quarterbacks in Southeast Missouri, especially just pure passing ability combined with the dual threat. It also doesn't help that you have a dad that's your offensive coordinator that's been a incredible, offensive coordinator at the Division I level. Yes. So, he's got a lot going for him. I think that by the end of this season, he's going to be one of the top guys, I think, in the region.
Think about, if anyone that is watching, and think about that you maybe have kids or know of some family members, and think about just from one year to the next, how much they grow, how much they get bigger, stronger. Think about for a Kai McDowell or some of those other players. Having another year to be able to grow into your body, to get stronger, to get smarter, and you mentioned with the offensive coordinator and Coach McDowell and what he can do. He's not going to be outcoached. I can tell you that. He's not going to be outcoached by anybody. And I think early on we're going to know. I think early on we're going to know what this team is, or at least a glimpse of what this team is. They played New Madrid, so that's new to the schedule.
Yeah.
Week 1, that was a change that was made as well. So
and a big jump too, going from, no offense, to Veritas Christian Academy, who they killed last year to start the season, to a New Madrid team that puts really good product on the field, going to be a little bit bigger than them total enrollment wise and everything. So.
And then another local team in Portageville, right, in week 2. So that, I think, again, we're going to know early what kind of team this is. So if you can show. And I'm not necessarily expecting wins per se, but if you can be competitive in those two games, I think we're going to have, good vibes, and I think that'll be a good thing to see. Can they split one of those games? I don't know. Win one of those at least, because I think that's definitely possible. They could win both,
for sure,
if they play well enough. But both of those teams, I think, will definitely give them a challenge. So yeah. And that's what I like to see, is to see them be competitive in those games. If that's the case, then I think, okay, we're going to see a pretty good year out of them.
Yeah, you mentioned the schedule is tough at the beginning. You've got New Madrid, who I think went 5-6 last year. You had you're at Portageville, who had a good season last year. I think they finished 7-5, and I believe they were the number 1 seed in that district, which they were in a crazy district where any team could have spin a wheel and put anybody as a 1 seed there, but they did lose to Hayti as well, like Saxony did. And then, throughout the schedule, you've got Windsor, who's a Class 4 school. You're at Charleston, who they struggled with last year. That was also in that district. You're going, and then that, probably the headliner there is at Valley Catholic, who's one of the best programs in Missouri history and going to be one of the best teams in whatever classification they end up in again.
Good luck with that one.
So, talk about challenging yourself. Saxony's really kind of putting themselves in a meat grinder. So I have some excitement about that. Now, when we get to question marks, number 1 is the offensive line, which was already kind of like, something you're trying to figure out. Sure. You're trying to get kids that are of, the requisite size 2 years into having a football program. They don't necessarily just grow on trees that way. And you lose 4 offensive line starters. You lose right tackle, right guard, center, and left guard. You bring back your left tackle, Landon Buckite, which is a good place to start, obviously protecting the quarterback blind side. And Coach McDowell is really high on Buckeye. He was another guy I talked to here, and he was very high on Landon. He's like his biggest regret is just Landon doesn't have more time in the program with him. He's like, Landon's genuinely a guy that could play at the next level, and he's that talented. But who are those other guys going to be? I know Will Cooper was a defensive lineman. Shout out to Will, also distant relative, fun fact, on my wife's side. Shout out to Will, right tackle this year. He's moving from,
good
primarily
genes.
Defensive line
good genes.
to the right tackle there. So he's got good size, good length over there on the right side. And so, there's some guys who can play at this level who I think are going to be, going to be competitive there. But it is going to just kind of be, hey, can we protect Kai McDowell? But also, you protect Kai McDowell with the offensive line, but you also protect him with kind of the guys he can distribute the ball to. And once again, you mentioned it earlier, they have some real playmakers coming back. Zach Roth, Ozzie Turner, Alan Rudd, and Tucker Teague, all these kids are legit, like, high-level weapons. Like, obviously you recognize the last name there with Turner and Coach's son. Pretty good genetics as well there. So he's a really talented kid. He's another really young one. Like all these kids are. Like all these kids, like I think Turner was a freshman this past year. Alan Rudd, I think, was a freshman or sophomore. Tucker Teague, I think, was a freshman. So, I mean, you've got a lot of young
class
guys.
Is good.
Yeah, I mean, you've got so many young guys that are going to be contributing throughout the roster. But a lot of these young guys now have experience, and it is going to end up being on the defense, right? I mean, they averaged 35 points a game scored this past year. They gave up about that many as well. I don't have the number pulled up, but they gave up quite a few points, especially in some of these some of the losses that they took. And it's just going to be, hey, can we? And
how about this? 33 points a game.
Yeah. So you score 35, you give up 33. You're going to be in a lot of 50-50 games that way. So it's just going to be. Can you do the little things? I think was kind of the big question for when I talked to Coach McDowell. He's just like, hey, we just got guys that maybe like haven't tackled people in high school before coming out here and playing football for us. Like just the little things like that. He's like, I think we're going to get a lot better at just tackling, finding the ball whenever it gets out in space, rallying to the ball, and like just the little things like that. Whenever you are, we talk about them like we have high expectations at times, but also like you said, like some of these kids have maybe just not played the sport until like a year or two ago. So
right, we talked about Cape Central, and our question mark a little bit was with their offense. Who's going to be the playmakers, in particular the receivers, things like that. It's the defense for me, for Saxony, because I look at, yes, there's some question marks on the offensive line, Caleb, but when you have, Jeremy McDowell as your guy calling the plays, I don't have much concern about. He's gonna figure out ways to get the ball out quick. Figure out ways. Okay, this is how the defense is playing me. How can I alter that? How can I use it to my advantage? Right. So that I don't have too much concern about that. I think he's going to find ways to get guys in good spots to have success on offense. What do you do on defense? Can you win the line of scrimmage battle? Can you find a way to stop the run? To me, for them, it's got to be that. They've got to be a team that is hard-nosed inside the tackles, whether, good form tackling, doing the fundamentals. And I'm sure that's something that Coach Turner and company has preached, in the offseason. They're going to continue to get better with that, but get multiple hats to the football, right? I mean, also, too, and this isn't really, I don't know that something, again, I didn't play the game of football. I've watched it all my life, but I don't know if there is a specific type of training or drill that you can do, Caleb, to necessarily help yourself as far as creating turnovers. Can they find a way to maybe win the turnover battle this year? Help them in that aspect. Cut down on penalties. To me, it's the little things. Some of those things caught up to them, I think, a little bit last year. Again, a lot of it had to do with inexperience. They get a little bit more experience now. Any type of, traction you can get in that area of doing the little things, limit the penalties, limit the turnovers, get multiple hats to the football, try to control the run a little bit better, cut down on giving up the big play to another team, right? Missed assignments, that sort of thing. Then you're going to find yourself in more successful situations.
Yeah, and it's going to be especially important up front, stopping the run, things like that, because of the schedule you play. Like a lot of these smaller schools are going to lean on the run. And
yep.
I mean, I know New Madrid is that way. We talked about these early teams. New Madrid is that way.
Porterville is going to be that way.
Be 100% that way as well. So I mean, you're going to get faced up with some teams that are just going to run the ball. And like you said, what kind of depth do you have? And that was something I think is going to be a little bit better this year. Just having experience, and then being able to bring in more guys, so you have a little bit more experience, depth, and then just the size. It's all about just pure size sometimes. In football, it makes it, it's simple a lot of times, but it's just like, hey, do we have more big bodies up front that we can throw at people? Because I was looking at, the defensive backfield is kind of a spot where I'm not as concerned. You mentioned turnovers. I think there's a good chance that improves just because of, once again, simply just getting older, because you've got guys like Ozzie Turner, like Zach Ross, like Bryce Gabler, these guys who are going to be playing both ways. But these are guys who are, good athletes, good playmakers that are all coming back in that defensive backfield. So that's more experience. And once again, like half these guys, it's like, yeah, they can drive to school this year. This is like,
It
hey,
makes a difference.
Like they're going to be like just getting older and just like,
can we get these guys some protein shakes
just
before school?
Just getting older, and that was something.
Get them an
else.
extra cheeseburger at lunch.
Yeah, as Coach McDowell talked about as well, of like, there wasn't like a devoted weight room like when we showed up here. Like that's a whole, just once again, like new concept that we're trying to learn here. Like we're playing football. Like, hey, some people were learning how to play football, but also we're learning how to lift weights, learning how to, eat, how to get bigger, better, stronger, showing up for it. Be like, because once again, like if you haven't done it, then you just don't know or whatever. I mean, it is a little bit of a year-round process, kind of building football players, building a football team. And
for sure.
And yeah, I mean, once again, only year 3, and you're already a 500 team who are coming off a 500 season this past year where, hey,
can you get to 6 wins?
You flip that. You flip that. You flip it. Yeah, you flip one of those games where you struggled, where the depth maybe, lost you a game there where you just ran out of gas. Like, yeah, you could flip it, but it won't be easy again this year. Like we said, the schedule is going to be tough. They also, one I didn't mention was at Mater Dei. Mater Dei is a team that went 3-6 last year, but also they play just absolutely like a gauntlet over there in the East St. Louis region over there of private schools and things like that. They have a quarterback that I think is going to be playing high-level college football as well. So, I mean, they're playing some
Priory at the end of the year.
Legit teams. You're playing Priory at home. Also, that's, speaking of at home, also very cool. Just kind of talking about a program, because you don't get it a lot, a program that's brand new. Like, they played their first home football game ever in the middle of the season this past year.
Right.
Just very, very cool scene there, it felt like. And it is cool seeing the community there, of building a community of football and the support they're getting.
Yeah, and I think they have a good complex. I mean, what they have been able to do as far as renovations and improvements, over the past couple of years there, I think they've done a really nice job. And the community support that they're at Saxony. I mean, you go to a ball game there at Saxony, it's rocking.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool atmosphere, and I only expect that to get better.
Yeah, for sure. Because like you said, there's a good chance they just keep winning more and more games here. And I'm also optimistic. I've seen some of the, like you said, the young guys. The sophomore class is big. The freshman class, I think, is pretty talented as well. I think some of those guys are probably going to be able to start contributing really early for them. And there's some kids, there's some athletic families that I went to high school with, things like that, maybe around my age. There's kids going to Saxony as well. So I'm very optimistic, and I think the trajectory is going the right way.
I would agree. I think they're doing it right. And people got to be patient, understand that, look, you're not going to start, winning district championships, overnight. It's going to take time. You've got to build it. It's got to be a process. And here's the thing. If you want sustained success, you have to be patient. You have to have a process and do it the right way.
Yeah.
Right. So whether it's making sure that you have the good, right coaches in place, that you have a weightlifting program that's doing things the right way in place, off-season program. You have players that are coming in to your school and your program from a young age. You're building that up, right? I mean, you mentioned some of these guys kind of got started halfway through their high school career, right? So they're also learning on the fly. Yep, yeah, they have some experience, but at the same time, they don't have as much as maybe some guys on the other side of the other team. So
exactly.
It's going to take time, but they're doing things right. They're doing things the right way, and it's going to get better. And at some point, I think you're going to see this team, this school district, have some success in football. It's coming.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, they're doing all the kind of building things, all the foundational things. I know they started the Junior Crusaders kind of football team as well, because that is kind of a weird quirk you have for private school where you don't necessarily know who's going to show up when it comes to enrollment time when you get to high school. So they're doing things to get kids involved and getting kids, kind of fired up for football at a young age before they enroll there and get kind of that camaraderie where, you have it for like back Cape youth tackle football or JYF, things like that, where a lot of times these kids are playing football together or against each other in some capacity for 5, 6, 7, 8 years before they show up to high school. So they're definitely building the right way. I think it's going to be exciting to kind of see. And there's look at the roster. I mean, there's just a million freshmen and sophomores on here that are obviously going to have to make up a JV and varsity roster, but
that'll be great.
There's a lot of kids on here that I think are going to be making a big difference this year. So we'll wrap up here with the big dog of Cape Girardeau County of Southeast Missouri, and one of the big dogs of Eastern Missouri in general. And that is the Jackson Indians. The Indians lost one game all of last year. That was in the Class 6 semifinals over at Lee's Summit. I mean, it is truly a different level than anybody else in Southeast Missouri, which is it's hard for me still to even kind of wrap my mind around, because I think you and I joked maybe or like off camera the other day, like, hey, I grew up. Well, when I was in high school, we were bad. We were bad at football.
Back in my day,
we were really bad. So it's just like I grew up being like, hey, Jackson and Cape could go either way. Cape probably is going to win more of them. Jackson and Sykeston could go either way. Jackson and Poplar Bluff, it's competitive. Like, hey, we've got a little bit more this year. We might be a little bit better. We're going to win 6, 7, 8 games, 9 games, a good year, maybe make a little bit of a run. But from the time Coach Eckley showed up, that was my senior year, so whatever, the 2012 fall season, after a few years of what he built to now, the last decade, I mean, the expectation is like, we're going to be the best team in the SEMO Conference by a mile, and we're also going to make a run in state. Like, that's just simply the expectation now. Like I said, that's almost hard for me to even grasp in this short amount of time, but it is impressive, like the heights that Jackson's kind of built themselves up to.
Yeah, I don't know that winning the SEMO Conference means a lot to Jackson anymore, to be honest with you.
I know it's on the goals list every year, but
but it's one of those where, like, I think it'd be a absolute huge disappointment if it didn't happen.
It would make state news if they lose. It would
make news. So yeah, I mean, aspirations are totally. Let's get to state. Let's make some noise. Let's find a way to win it. That's the goal every year. And I mean, look, the fan base there at Jackson and at the pit, it's second to none. I mean, that's well documented. It is no doubt one of the best atmospheres in high school football in the state of Missouri. There's no question about it. And put a hand on the back. Give yourself some kudos if you're a Jackson fan watching, because you make that place special to go play there, and the players know that. They feed off of that, and that has made them better. But you mentioned it starts with, again, the program, the coaching, not only like what they do inside of school hours, but what they have built off-season wise in the program. And if you want to play football at Jackson, Caleb, you can't just show up during football season and expect to play. That's not going to happen. You have to be involved year-round, whether it be in the weight room, whether it be, again, in the off-season programs that they have. And look, the buy-in from the players. Let me give you an example. You look at some of the best athletes at Sykeston, and I'm not trying to dig at Sykeston, okay? So don't get it twisted here, but they have struggled with getting their top tier athletes to play football.
Right.
They're a basketball school, and some of their top athletes just haven't played multiple sports. Jackson's not like that. You have guys that if they have success in one sport, they're not afraid to go play in football too.
I mean, look at some of the best players on the team. Jory Toma,
Exactly.
pretty darn good basketball player. Blaine Reagan is one of the best track athletes and also a starter on the basketball team. Like, these are kids that are starting and playing high level on the football team as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, you can go down the list. There's a number of those. So, I think it only makes them better in all sports, to be honest with you. But you talk about a schedule. We talk about some of these other schools with their schedule. Let's talk about Jackson and their schedule.
Yeah, it's tough. It starts out this week. They're going to be playing Edwardsville. So Edwardsville, I mean, one of a very consistent, really, really tough program in Illinois immediately.
You asked about Cape Central and St. Charles West. I mean, how did they get started with playing Edwardsville?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think it just kind of
you got to ask Coach Nesbitt
came as
about that.
Came as a little bit of a like, hey, I feel like him and Coach Pickering knew each other, had some sort of connection when he took over the job there at Edwardsville when they started playing. That's my best guess, but. Yeah, Edwardsville. I'm tired of us playing Edwardsville, man. Well, I'm not tired of us playing Edwardsville as much as I am tired of
going
driving
there.
to Edwardsville.
Exactly. Finally get to play home.
Yeah, this is my own personal just complaint speech here is like having to drive to Edwardsville three years in a row. Stupid.
The unfortunate event. What was it a couple of years ago where there was the bomb threat?
Yeah. So had
2022 to play on a Saturday and had to go there.
You play your first year. It's always bad. By the way, I'm just gonna anybody from Edwardsville turn this off. So. Year one, they come to Jackson, and that was Coach Eckley's last year. They beat Jackson at the Pit, which is the first time Jackson had lost a home game in several years.
Yeah.
And then the next year we play them, 2023 would be Coach Nesbitt's first season. A lot of news, first game of the year. And then also, like it probably is when you're watching this, it was 100 degrees outside. And so they pushed the start time back to 8 p.m. So we had an 8 p.m. kickoff in Edwardsville, Illinois, which means you have a 2 p.m. pull into your garage time when you get back to Jackson. And then also in that game, Jackson and them where it was a super competitive game. Jackson gave up a touchdown with like a minute left for Edwardsville to win. Heartbreak City.
Makes it worse.
Year 3, 24, Jackson's supposed to host the game. And then, there's like a bomb threat or I'm going to shoot up the school threat, whatever it was, some kid being annoying. You had that. And so then it's like, all right, well, we're canceling the game, and we're moving it to Edwardsville, and we're moving it to Friday, and also we moved it to Saturday.
Yeah,
and then we didn't move it to like Saturday at noon, which is like, we got to get there a little early, but we moved it to Saturday at like 6 p.m. still. Yeah. So like I'm still getting home at 1 in the morning or whatever still, and Jackson gets murdered that game, and then this past year, Edwardsville's like. No, sorry, we're still going to host the game here because we're back on schedule to be hosting again. So I drive back up to Edwardsville, year 3, and Jackson got over the hump and beat them, and it was
a huge game.
It was a real monkey off the back moment for I think the Indians as a whole, just kind of seeing the difference in what they had from year 1 to year 2. So or the year before to that year. So we talked about how great of a season they had this past season. So 2 years ago or 2 seasons ago. They started week 1. They played at Cardinal Ritter. They got crushed, 44-7. They played that Edwardsville team at Edwardsville. It was week 3, 41-7, just crushed. So it was like, we're good. We have talent, but there's a level that we were not at yet. So this past year, hosting that Cardinal Ritter team, beating them by 3, going back to Edwardsville, getting the win against them, and this is consistently an Edwardsville team that had D1 guys. You had Yosei Epineza, who was a 5-star kid that Iowa. This past year, they had Davion Hill-Lomax, who's a 6'5" wide receiver who's at Mizzou. Like, they constantly have big kids, freak athlete kids that are going to play high level. So, I felt like that beginning of the year where you beat some of these teams that were on a different level than you the previous year kind of gave Jackson, those guys, that confidence boost later on in the year to be like, hey, we can maybe go win the whole thing. So I think all that is kind of culminating into this year where you said the schedule is going to be brutal once again. You got Edwardsville at home. You then week 2, you're driving to Louisville, Kentucky to play on a Friday night.
You're probably going to leave on a Thursday to get there.
I think you're going Thursday, spending the night, then playing Friday. You obviously have the conference slate where you're on the road this year at Sykeston. You're hosting Bluff. They're at Cape this year, and then you're hosting Farmington for the first time. That means Coach Eckley is coming back to Jackson for the first time since he left as a coach. That is, so that'll be a fun storyline. In between there, you are hosting St. Mary's Southside, which if you ever feel like hey, what kind of talent do they have? Just look up the recruiting rankings in the state of Missouri for the next couple of years, and they've got offensive linemen that are getting offers everywhere, receivers that are getting offers everywhere, a running back who's already committed to Mizzou. So, I mean, this is a team with crazy top-end talent. And then you end the year, another long road trip at Hannibal, Missouri, who was in the Class 4 state title game last year. They beat St. Mary's in the semifinals to get to the championship game. And then you end it all by hosting Cardinal Ritter once again, who has, they have Cardinal Ritter talent once again. You've got tackles going D1. You've got a receiver already committed to Oklahoma. You got another receiver with tons of SEC and Big Ten offers. And so it's going to be, no rest for the weary, I think, once again with the schedule.
Let me ask you this. Yes or no question.
Yep.
Is Cardinal Ritter the toughest team on the schedule?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're the best.
So if that's the toughest team on the schedule, how would you rank some of the other opponents? Who would be number 2, maybe number 3?
I think Cardinal Ritter is the best. So I did get the ability to kind of peek behind the curtain for Edwardsville. I think Edwardsville got kind of rocked week 1 because Illinois, for those who don't know, already played week 1. Right. 21st was their first ball game. I'm going to say this is going to be tough. It's going to be splitting hairs with Hannibal and St. Mary's because, like I said, Hannibal beat St. Mary's this past year. They both bring back some studs. Hannibal, though, brings back an all-state quarterback, running back. They bring back an all-state defensive back, and they were the team that lost by a touchdown in the state title game. And then I'm going to put right behind them, especially since it's on the road at Hannibal, I'll put them second. And then St. Mary's will probably be third because, like I mentioned, Kingston Miles, he's committed to Mizzou. Darius Smiley, 6'6", 290 left tackle. He's been offered by every Big 10, Big 12 SEC team. And then you've got another all-state offensive lineman, Elijah Knoll, all-state defensive back, Namarion Smith coming back. And so they've got a ton of talent. And then, Ballard is a weird one. Ballard is a team that Jackson beat last year at home, 32-10. How much did that travel for them factor in as well? And how's that going to throw you off your routine completely as a high school kid? You're spending the night in a hotel far from home. You're going to be goofy. I know Coach Nesbitt and them are going to be pretty hard on them. I'm sure there's going to be whatever a doors closed, time frame. I'm sure, but all that jazz. But it's
kids are kids.
I have one experience of this. We played in a road tournament in somewhere in St. Louis, and we stayed the night because we were playing early Saturday. We played Friday night and the Saturday morning, and it was like we had this huge win. We were super excited Friday night. We beat, I think, the 1 seed in the tournament. We were going to the championship game, and then we just got slaughtered because we just were not awake, were not prepared mentally whatsoever in the championship game. We just got destroyed. So it's tough. It's tough to kind of have that, but the coaches and these kids, they're very mature. They have a lot of old guys on the team that I think are going to hold all the other guys really accountable. And then, that's going to be kind of what I think helps them out there. But I do think that is going to factor in. I think Ballard is maybe a step behind those other teams, but they're a big school and a big city, and they're used to, they have a lot of talent coming through.
Think about this, though. So you're saying, and I don't disagree with you, I think there's arguments to be made for that. I mean, you're saying, Cardinal Ritter, Hannibal, St. Mary's, probably top 3 teams. So that's Edwardsville and Ballard is like fourth and fifth teams you're playing. Think about that.
That's crazy.
I mean, so especially we just went over a little bit before that how it's gone with Edwardsville over the past several years, right? So I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing for Jackson because they need that. They need to be tested. And we've said this I've talked to you off air, and I wonder, it's a question I know that people in Jackson have thought about. When is the time, or should there be a time that they remove themselves from the SEMO Conference?
Yeah.
Is that'll ruffle some feathers? For sure. There's a lot of history. There's rivalries there, obviously, with Cape and Sykeston and Bluff and all those, but even Farmington. So, and I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying something to think about. But is there anything else that Jackson can do to prep themselves for postseason play? Because that's really where they're at right now, Caleb, is, okay, they're winning conference every year. They're, right there, district titles just about every year. How do you get over that hump? How do you, get to that next step, get to state, win state? What else can you do? So that would be my question is, do you think about tinkering with your schedule a little bit?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I was while you were talking, I was looking it up. You've got Sykeston, they've beat 13 straight times. They've beat Farmington 15 straight times. They've beat they're only on a 3-game win streak against Poplar Bluff, but they have won 18 out of the last 21 meetings.
There you go. And
then with Cape Central, they've won 10 straight meetings as well. So that's 12 of the last 14 they've won. So, I mean, they are dominant. Like I said, you got to wonder if, is this just a thing we're going to expect? Because there are other elements to go into it, like population changing places, because you look at all the other schools in the SEMO Conference, their enrollment, it stays about the same, but it's kind of teetered down here and there, a few different schools. While Jackson, every year, it just feels like it's going up and up and up and up. Like these, like the younger grades, I hear from a few friends that have kids in like elementary school, stuff like that, where it's like, hey, the first graders in Jackson, there's 750 in their class.
Nuts.
Like, obviously, it's going to filter out a little bit with the Saxony, Notre Dame kids, or some kids are going to move away, yada, yada. But, I mean, it's just getting bigger. So, I mean, like you said, is this a cycle where
how much does Saxony and Notre Dame affect things?
Yeah, it'll definitely have an impact, I think. But are you at a point where, like, hey, in a decade, this school in the SEMO Conference is going to be, dominant or whatever it might be? I do think it's interesting. I mean, you leave for the reason of improving that competition, especially that middle part of the schedule where, you take last season, for example, you pull up the schedule here. It was 3 straight pretty tough competitive ball games to end the year out of conference or start the year out of conference. Then you win 56-7, 69-7, 62-24, 75-7. And we also played Miller Career, who beat them 65-6. Then you end the year at Festus, who, a 10-win team, they still beat 62-21. So, I mean, I guess that's also part of it, why you might not leave the conference in general, because, like, once again, I don't want to be like the obnoxious, like, cocky Jackson fan person, but it's like last season's team I can use because we've seen them. We don't know necessarily what this team's going to look like, but I mean, last year there was probably 5 to maybe 10, probably not 10, but probably about 5 to 10 teams in the state of Missouri that was going to like
challenge them,
play a tough game.
Yeah.
And like, that's just how it is. I mean, they lost by a touchdown to Lee Summit, who won by a score over Nixa in the state title game by 4.
Awesome team as well.
So, like, those 3 teams are going to challenge you.
Right.
Cardinal Ritter. There's going to be a couple other teams, like a Platte County in Class 5, a Rockhurst in Class 5. But, I mean, outside of that, like, there's just going to be a handful, probably other, like, Blue Springs South, those teams. But, I mean, you're looking at about 10 teams.
The game they had with CBC, yeah.
There's like 10 teams, CBC, maybe a DeSmet, just because of the athletic ability all over the place. But, so, I mean, you're still looking, though, like I said. So, I mean, there's maybe 15 to 20 teams that you have a pool of in Missouri where it's like, these are the guys that's going to push us every year. So it's like, I don't know. I think they're going to end up riding out no matter what with the kind of the tradition and local flair of it.
You look at last year's team, and let's even look at the year before that. How would you compare this year's team to them? Do you think that this year's team, Caleb, can have similar success? You lose, obviously, Drew Parsons. You lose one of your top offensive linemen that's going to be playing at Mizzou.
Right.
Okay. You return another one that's going to be playing Division I football, but still, you lose some of your guys on defense. You lose, some very important pieces. Some other guys mixing in. You do retain a good amount, right? The one guy that really stands out, at least to me, is Jalen Hampton running the football. There's others, of course, but I don't know. Do you think this team can be as good as they were the last couple of years?
I definitely think it's possible. I think the big difference is going into last year, you had a starting quarterback that had started an entire season, and not to mention a couple games tacked onto his sophomore year. He
makes a difference.
Had to start. His first career start was a district title game, and which they won by 40. So, his first career start, his second career start was home against a CBC team that, had Nick McClellan that we just saw this past year, Jeremiah McClellan, who I think went to Ohio State or whatever. So, his first couple starts, and then year 2 or year 1 as being QB1, he is at Cardinal Ritter, he's at Edwardsville, he's immediately just thrown in the fire and battle tested. So coming into last year, you definitively knew you had, the best returning quarterback in the area, but also one of the best in the entire state. And this year you don't have that. Drew Parsons is gone. He's going to be pitching at SEMO. So you've got Tyler Fisher in there. Fisher was a kid who was, he was the backup quarterback. He played JV quarterback as a freshman. And this past year as a sophomore, it was a situation where it's like, you're too talented just as an athlete to just sit and wait to come in the third and fourth quarter behind Drew. So he started all year at corner. He's a number 2 corner. I think he was an all-conference corner. He was phenomenal at it.
Great.
And then the bad part is, though, he blows out his knee at the end of the season, right before the CBC game, if I remember right. So, yeah, that kind of knock against him. But, the positives there, big arm, big, strong, athletic kid. He's going to be able to run over defenders, run by defenders. He's, like I said, he's got a good arm to throw it where he needs to. All I hear is good things, about him character-wise, the way he works, things like that. But, that is where it's going to start. And then that's kind of the biggest question mark. Obviously, it's maybe the most important position in the sport and one of the biggest, most important positions in sports, period. But you mentioned it. There's a lot of help around him. This is a great position to be a first-year starting quarterback. You've got Braden Harris is going to be the left tackle, sliding over from the right side, who's committed to Kansas State.
Right.
You've got, Gavin Shin. You've got other guys coming back there in the interior part of the offensive line that have experience that were starters last year. You've got a trio of running backs. You mentioned Jalen Hampton, who is the rare 4-year starter at a school. Phenomenal, can do it all. He's going to run for over 4,000 yards in his career. There's not enough things you can say about him. He's done it all. He's going to be pushing 100 career touchdowns by the time it's over with. So he's phenomenal.
But by the way, that's going to be my goal this year, is to try to push Jackson and their offense and coach release the beast. Find a way to get Jalen Hampton more carries. Yeah. I want to see him go off this year because he should. He has that ability.
Yeah, he's good enough. He's super talented. And this past year, he really kind of stretched his game to be a bigger threat out of the backfield. He was really good in, just leaking out or running wheel routes, things like that. They split him out into the slot a ton as well. So he's a versatile running back. But, there's a few schools like a St. Mary's that have, big-time dudes there at running back. But, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a better backfield in the state of Missouri where you have Jalen Hampton at the front. You've got a Memphis Maddox, who was him and Jalen were both a part of the state champion 4x1 team for the Indians. Memphis is a home run hitter. He took multiple kick return, punt returns back to the house this past year for touchdowns. He has electric speed. He's going to be a two-way guy where he plays some corner as well. He's going to return kicks and all that jazz. And so, he would be the best running back at 85% of the schools in the state of Missouri.
And I would like to see the offense use him more in different ways.
And then you've got Gage Parker. Gage Parker is going to be maybe a middle linebacker, outside linebacker. He's going to be a starting linebacker for the Indians. He's big, strong kid as far as just pure weightlifting numbers go. He's pound for pound one of maybe the strongest kid on the team. He last season just demoralized people because he would come in when Jackson's blowing out somebody, and he ran for 100 yards against Farmington. He ran for 100 yards against Poplar Bluff and Miller Career, and he did that in a quarter.
Yeah.
So he's a talented kid. And then, hey, you've got this good offensive line in front of you. You've got all these guys you can hand it off to. And then you've got a trio of studs, once again, at wide receiver. Also, not to mention your starting tight end, Grant Brown, is back.
That's right.
But you've got All-State Jory Toma, who's a freak athlete, big, strong kid. Blaine Reagan, who plays in the slot, is just that home run hitter. Like, let's just sneak him into the ball game and run a post, and he's going to run by people, and he's going to score a touchdown every time he touches it because he is going to be the fastest kid on the field 100% of the times that he's in the game. So, and then you've got Evan Turley, who is just a very reliable guy who's been making contributions now for going to be 3 straight years for the Indians. He returns punts. He got great hands. He finds the open spaces and zones. And so, I mean, you've got 3 guys to start there, and that's just the people that are coming back that, caught a bunch of balls last season, not to mention, there's D'Antoine Johnson, DJ Johnson was a JV kid who is another guy that's just like, we just got to get the ball in this guy's hands because every time he touched it in playing JV competition, he took it to the house, it felt like. So you've got him, you've got a bunch of young guys that I'm not even going to try to name. There's going to be a handful of guys that could all be starting wide receivers for him. And so on that side of the ball, it's like, hey, we got a new starting quarterback. You're losing a Drew Parsons who was phenomenal, who
ease him into the role.
Yeah, he's like, Drew in some of those playoff games, like he put the team on his shoulders and he took them to victories, took them down the field over and over again against Lee Summit, made crazy plays when there was nothing there.
Yeah.
And but hey, you have a perfect way to insulate them. And then, I mean, Rusty, honestly, we might not be talking about the best side of the ball either for Jackson after naming all those guys. So.
Yeah, no, the defense is going to be legit as well. So yeah, kind of to answer my own question, can they be as good as they have been the last? I think they can.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they can. I think it may take some time for Tyler Fisher to be a guy you look at and say, okay, yeah, he's a guy that maybe can lead us in the postseason. I think maybe early on there may be some lumps there. What I want to see with Jackson, can we cut down on the penalties? I mean, it's been an issue over the past couple of years. So those little things is I want to see. Win the turnover battle. I've said that kind of previously with Saxony, but I think it holds true for Jackson. Win the turnover battle. Limit some of your penalties, some of your silly mistakes. Be smart. Fundamental stuff. That sort of thing. But there's no doubt that they have talent, and they have about as much talent as there is on a team in state. So I would agree there's same kind of scenario where there's only maybe 10, 12 teams that could give them trouble in state.
Right.
But it's how can you play your best football when it counts the most? And what do you learn from some of those other games where you are blowing some teams out? Can you continue to keep doing things the right way, and doing things the fundamental way to where that carries over in those games where you do have adversity, you do have maybe a closer type game where you need a big play, you need a big moment, and instead of a 5-yard false start penalty, then you execute the way you should and you make the play. So that's some of the thing I'm looking at.
Yeah, and I do want to highlight that other side of the ball where you have. I mean, because I went to a scrimmage that Jackson had. It was just intra-squad scrimmage. I did not see their jamboree up at Festus, but I went to the scrimmage, and I mean, the defense was an absolute problem because you bring Keegan Brugman back on at defensive end, who's big, strong kid. Cameron Caldwell, big, strong kid, relentless, just gets to the quarterback, stops the run. You've got Gavin Shin, who's probably going to play both ways. There's going to be a couple other guys that do that as well. In middle of the defense, you've got Joe Moore, who's
great
all-state linebacker. Yep. He's been offered by UT Martin. Lucas Cox coming off the edge is a phenomenal athlete out there. And then in the defensive backfield, you bring back some experience.
Really good.
I mean, Blaine Reagan, Memphis Maddox, Brock Reagan. So, I mean, if anything, you're playing these kids.
Good luck throwing the ball in the secondary.
I mean, if anything, you're playing some kids that are freak athletes out wide, and they're not going to be able to run by Jackson. I can tell you that. Now, look, Blaine Reagan, Memphis Maddox, Brock Reagan might be averaging about 5'9" as a group, but, at the end of the day, nobody's going to out-athlete these kids. So,
yeah, I would agree.
They've got playmakers returning at every single level, and then there's going to be a lot of guys that are stepping into some of these holes that were vacated because Indians do lose, Boyd Langford, Dawson Borton, or Brett Finley, all at the linebacker core, who are all, really, really talented at one thing or the other, really good at multiple parts of the game. But, I mean, once again, like I said, you've got Jackson has I make this joke a lot to some of the coaches. I'm like, there's a never-ending arsenal of like 5'9" to 5'11", 210-pound kids that they can just be like, you can go play outside linebacker and rush the passer, and they're going to succeed. So
sure.
they've got a never-ending group of those guys. So I feel pretty confident that side of the ball is also going to help them out quite a bit early in the year when they are trying to maybe work through things offensively.
Yeah. Can you stay away from injury? Who's some of those depth pieces that can separate themselves a little bit? And, I look at the leadership role. Some of those guys like Drew Parsons, that he was a big leader for them. Yeah. Who's going to step into that leadership role this year for Jackson and to help pick one another up? So that would be, guys that are become those captain type guys, right? Who's going to do that? So that's another question mark.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely question marks, but they just seem to have answered a lot of them every single year. And the coaching staff, once again, going to be high level. I know they brought back some guys that were on that state title team, Randall McDowell, Daniel Dickerson, both part of the coaching staff. Coach Pulley, that was down at Sykeston, Malden. Right. He's going to be part of the Jackson coaching staff this year. So once again, I mean, they've got great guys leading these kids and developing them into really, really good young men as well, hopefully too. So, I mean, there's a lot of there's a handful of question marks, and there's unbelievable expectations put on these kids, but at the end of the day, they are unbelievably talented. There's a reason they are where they are, and where they have the expectations they do have is, like you said at the beginning of this, showing up 365 whenever whatever's scheduled. You see Coach Nesbitt always putting, like, we had 137 kids at weightlifting this morning. It's like,
goodness,
just the level is just is at a different spot. But I'm excited to see them. I'm excited to kind of see what heights they could get to, and no matter what, I think it's going to be a fun year. The only problem Class 6, you might be one of the 5 best teams in the state, but you're going to see a CBC or DeSmed, a team that has 5-10 guys that are going to be playing SEC or Big Ten football whenever you get out of district. So you got to be ready to go as soon as you got to be able to flip that switch there when you get out of conference play, get out of the regular season pretty quick. So finally, one thing I wanted to tack on here at the end, we're going to be getting a new football team next year coming to the area, Rusty, the Notre Dame Bulldogs. Your guy's really familiar with Notre Dame and covering, like you said, baseball, basketball, boys basketball, girls basketball. So is that kind of a crazy realization after all these years of once a decade, it's like, oh, I think Notre Dame might get football. Notre Dame might get football. They should get football. Why does Notre Dame not have football? Well, next season, Rusty, they're going to be starting JV football like Saxony did before, going into the varsity level. But it's time to get prepared for a 4th football team in Cape County. We went 1,000 years with 2 teams in Cape County, and then in the span of whatever it is, 4 or 5 years, we're going to have 4. So crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah, I mean, if you would have asked somebody involved in the Notre Dame program 20 years ago about are you going to get football, they probably would have scoffed at you, right? I mean, they would have been like, "What? Come on." I mean, that's never going to happen. I mean, seriously, that was the thought process a long time ago. But, things change, things evolve. People's minds change, different people that are involved change. So I like it. I think it's awesome for the community personally. I think it's a good thing to have Notre Dame be part of the football community now. And they're a type of school that I do think that they're going to try to do things the right way. And, is it going to be tough maybe at first? Sure. Just like it was for Saxony. So they're going to have a lot of things to learn about. But how do they evolve their coaching staff? That's still coming together. Now they've hired some people that are within the administration now that are expected to be part of the football coaching staff. They have had, football camp that have already gone on. So they're trying to kind of bring awareness to the community. trying to, put their feelers out and reach out and try to, bring some excitement and things like that to the community to draw some kids in, some younger kids, right? So, yeah, it'll be fun to see. I really do think, what can they do to the facilities? The expectation is to transform their track facility into a football stadium. What can they do there? What kind of funding can they?
It's gonna be
can they
windy
get?
up on that hill.
It could be interesting.
It's gonna be windy up there.
Yeah,
The track meets are brutal up there. I know
Exactly.
it's flat in track, flatter, but
maybe they.
be windy up there.
Yeah, maybe they plant some trees around. I don't know, but yeah, it'll be fun to see.
Sure.
I think the biggest hurdle to begin with right now, can they find the right head coach?
Yeah,
that hasn't been done quite yet, but can they find the right head coach that'll implement themselves into the program and help lead? And that, think about it. I mean, I'm sure coaches out there that have been around the block, even young coaches, that's not something you look at and say, yeah, I want to start a program from scratch.
And you have no idea like what you're gonna draw, like the kids you're gonna have.
I
mean, no
what
offense,
resources are available to me?
You walk around the halls. There's not a lot of offensive, defensive line bodies in the halls right now.
Exactly. So can they get a off-season program started? Can they get the weight room program started? These are all question marks, and can you get buy-in from the Notre Dame community and the alumni and the administration and all of that? So that's continuing to evolve and and to improve. But again, I feel like from the school standpoint they're going to try to do things right, and I respect that they've kind of taken their time in this process because I think that's part of the reason. They don't want to jump to make rash decisions on certain things. They want to make sure that they're making the right decision for each thing. So, yeah, I know I'm rambling, but I'm excited. And again, it's going to be a process. The first couple of years I think could be rough, but can they be a team that challenges, some other local teams in the future? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it'd be cool to have just another team in general in the area, but also you mentioned it with Saxony, like, hey, might they jump into the SEMO Conference? You kind of expect the same thing with Notre Dame.
And they've been accepted in the SEMO Conference already.
That's
so
good
that
news.
is the expectation for them, is that they'll jump in. Now, what conference specifically? North, South, Central, what? I don't know quite yet, but that is the expectation, that they will be part of the SEMO Conference.
Yeah, and they're a little bit bigger than Saxony too, so you're also probably going to start out in a higher class, in Class 1, maybe when it comes to postseason time. So that'll be something to look forward to. And it's going to be interesting, especially with the head coach. Frankly, if your head coach makes waves, is exciting, gets is a name that impresses amongst the young people, that's simply going to help you out, right? Because they do have that option. They do have that option of, hey, there's kids that might, hey, I want to stay at my school here because I know what we're doing. We have a football team already. It's like, well, this team just hired X, who is great because of this reason. He has these relationships. He's won these games. This yada yada. Hey, maybe I wanted, or I went to private school when I was young. Maybe I can just follow that route over there to Notre Dame now. Things like that, and we talked about it. I mean, there's a couple other really, really good football schools in the county that are probably going to, there's going to draw some kids over there as well. So it's going to be a fun option. It's going to be fun to kind of see where they fit in, what it's going to look like, just the whole 9 yards. It is just crazy transition. Like I said, I mean, we went literally forever of just having Cape and Jackson, then now you've got a Saxony who's Class 1 school, maybe a Class 2 school this year, and then you're going to have a Notre Dame immediately. It's like, hey, these rivalries might change. There's going to be a whole lot of kind of like where do they fit in and what all goes on once they jump into the pool.
And honestly, for those people that are looking at Notre Dame and that's got football, one person or one, organization, team, whatever you want to call it, school that you want to think for that, SEMO. Why do I say that? Well, several years ago, Notre Dame, they decided to be part of the tailgate and have a tent out there outside of the football games. So they have, alumni, administration, different people a part of that. And they kind of fell in love with SEMO football.
Yeah.
They kind of fell in love with Coach Tuke. A name that was a part of the, basically the committee initially, as far as helping Notre Dame is making some of those initial steps and decisions, was Coach Tuke.
Wow.
Was SEMO.
There you go.
So it's played a part. And then, again, just I think some of the people with Notre Dame seeing what that can look like on Saturdays in college, and then maybe dreaming a little bit on what if this happened on Friday nights?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of really where traction started for them.
Sure. Yeah, it's exciting. Obviously, we got another year until we get to see kind of what it looks like. But yeah, you expect. I mean, we're starting football season right now as you're watching this, so there's probably not going to be a coaching announcement made until after this season, I would expect, just because if anybody is actively coaching, it's kind of weird to be like, yeah, I'm accepting a job at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And you've got, 40, 50, 100 kids looking at you like, all right, coach, thanks a lot.
I would say winter would be the kind of the earliest that something would happen.
For sure.
This fall I think would be probably off limits. It makes sense, right? If another coach is already out there coaching, but there could be a decision, by Christmas time. Who knows?
Yeah.
It could be.
So it's exciting. Excited. I know it's going to be, like you talked about, a top-class program. You've got great people in charge. They've exclusively hired just phenomenal people to run all their athletic programs, good leaders, good men and women. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it looks like. And like you said, see just what it looks like. See just how it feels. Just what the field's going to look like.
Atmosphere,
I live 2 minutes from Notre Dame, so I'm going to enjoy watching the construction every day. But I'll see that just all the time. So it's very cool just to have more football. More football is always better.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Always better. So the last thing I want to do, make some prediction here.
Oh,
Rusty,
no.
we're going to make some predictions. Talk about the SEMO Conference as a whole, because excluding Saxony here, Cape, Jackson, both in the SEMO Conference, both very competitive in the SEMO Conference traditionally. Jackson has not lost a regular season SEMO Conference football game. This is another off-the-head stat of the day. Is I think 2017 they lost at Poplar Bluff.
So would I lose credibility if I picked them last?
Probably.
Okay.
That'd be a tough pick. I think. It'd be a hard one to rationalize. 2017 at Poplar Bluff, 29-28. These kids that are in high school now, none of them were in high school. Some of them were in kindergarten. Some of them weren't even in school. They're going to be on the Jackson football team since the last time they lost a regular season football game in SEMO Conference. So, with that said, regardless of what we say about the other teams, I will be picking Jackson at the top of the SEMO Conference here.
Okay.
But there's going to be, I don't know, the rest of the SEMO Conference looks interesting. You have the team that finished in second this past year, Farmington, year 2 under Coach Eckley. You just expect that to kind of continue rising in different facets of the game, to continue to get better. There's going to be some losses for them. They do lose their starting quarterback, Tatum Tinsley, who did a lot for them, obviously, offensively. You lose a couple guys here and there that were offensive weapons. You lose more maybe on the defensive side. Owen Barron was a kid that his name stood out to me, but this is a team year 1 under Coach Eckley, which isn't a surprise probably to a lot of people, but they go 9-3. They win the district. They go to quarterfinals and lose in very early Coach Eckley fashion, 70-56. Reminds me of some Jackson football teams there in the late 2010s, is whenever they get to this stage where we're getting the offense figured out. The defense, we're coming along. The defense is coming, but they do lose 70-56 to Kirkwood in the quarterfinals. And outside that quarterback position, Rusty, they bring back 4 offensive linemen. They bring back Josh McCarthy, who's committed to Iowa State, a linebacker, wide receiver. They bring back 3 other starting linebackers. You bring back half the Fripp family and Coy and Isaac, who are the best running back, and I think maybe the leading receiver on the team.
Yeah.
Walker Laut, who's a kid who did a little bit of everything. So, regardless of who does step in at quarterback, I guess you could say it's kind of a Jackson light situation where you kind of expect good things to kind of go on in that program.
Yeah. I think it's pretty clear they're the second best team in the SEMO North right now. Honestly, I think like how things shaked out last year, that's probably where we're sitting at. If I had to pick today, it'd be Jackson 1, Farmington 2, Cape 3, Poplar Bluff 4, and Sykeston 5. That's where I would rank them. Now, I said this on my radio show. I think there's at least a chance or an opportunity that Poplar Bluff could leapfrog some of those teams. And they're a team that I think they at least have the talent or the ability to be better now in conference, that is. They have a really tough schedule. Are they going to show that as far as their win-loss record overall? That may not be the case, but can they be better than Cape this year? I think there's a chance for that. Can they be better than Farmington? I don't think, but I think there's at least a chance they could. So that's a team that I would keep an eye on as a wild card because I think they're going to be much improved. What I worry about them is their defense. They lost a lot on the defensive end for Poplar Bluff, but I do think their offense is going to be good with Gage Earnhardt as a quarterback coming back, Devin Ferguson, the running back, and one of their top receivers in Xavier Jones. So they're going to have skill position guys. They're going to be able to score some points. But are they going to stop the opposition enough times? But again, that's how I would rank it. I think right now on paper, I would say Cape probably better. But could Bluff overtake Cape? Yeah, I think there's a chance.
Possible. Yeah, I'm so Poplar Bluff. I'm looking up something to give somebody a shout out here. There's a writer for SEMO Ball.
Yeah.
From down there, he has written about 20 articles about Poplar Bluff this coming into the fall. So I am buying all the hype. He is a personal propaganda machine that I am very impressed by. Mr. Seaberry.
That's right.
You're making me believe in Poplar Bluff a little bit at least. But
Mr. Wade Kennedy did a story on him. His
Wade
mom's
Kennedy.
From Advance, by the way,
really?
originally. So just throw that out there a little.
Look at that.
So
this count. Anything he does well counts as an Advance victory. So we'll give that to him then. I mean they have a lot of guys coming back. You mentioned Gage Earnhardt. Devin Ferguson coming back at running back. He's going to be playing linebacker as well. Bring back a lot of guys, a receiver. We mentioned him, Kingston, Wade Kennedy, who big-time track athlete as well, along with Devin Ferguson. They were part of, I believe, the state champion track team as a whole there at Poplar Bluff and on their boys' side. Colt Clifford is back. Zay Jones is back. There's a lot of weapons back offensively. They have a kid that moved in, Alex Burside. Also, there was an article written about him from Alabama. Right. I'm telling you, like half the team is at
he's an X factor.
Every day I just read about a new
see.
Kid from Poplar Bluff. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe this team's gonna be good.
That's what I'm saying.
But the offense is the thing. Now, you mentioned it. There hasn't been necessarily a lot of articles written about the defense so far. But I mean, they've got a lot of those things back on offense that you expect to see. And then there's going to be guys playing both ways, right? I mentioned Ferguson, the Burside kid, is going to be playing corner. I think Colt Clifford played safety for him as well. I mean, that's never really been an issue for Poplar Bluff. The defensive side, as far as like defensive backfield, they always have that covered. They always have linebackers that have 150 tackles at the end of the year. Like one of those
Bryce
kids,
Dobbs was really good for them.
One of those kids always ends up at the like Player of the Year ceremonies down there at Poplar Bluff, where I'm like, oh wow, this kid had 137 tackles and 12 sacks. Like what? So, I mean, they're going to have guys that produce on that side, but it is going to be, can they win along the line of scrimmage? Can they just get teams off the field by not getting gashed on the ground? Things like that. And them versus Sykeston will be interesting once again down there. Who's going to win that rivalry? Because Sykeston.
Can they finally win a game in the conference?
Sykeston win a game. It's been a minute. That's another team, by the way. I just keep reading Sykeston propaganda too. Like every year, Coach May is just like get me like more fired up a little bit.
Third year in the program.
So I mean and he's another guy. I mean he's a great coach. This conference has really good coaches, and he won at Scott City. The one thing I saw was they're up to over 60 plus kids after they were fighting for 40 year one. So the depth is going to be better. The involvement's better. You're getting some more of those guys out there. They have 12 seniors coming back. You have an all-state linebacker in St. McGill. Now. You do lose Pierce Baker at quarterback.
That's
who's
huge
going to be
loss.
there. You lose Keon Atkins at wide receiver, who did a little bit of everything for you on both sides of the ball. Kenneth Holcomb, can he come back 100% at some point this year. He's a good running back, tough kid, but they have guys. I mean, they've got really good athletes on the perimeter. Mason King, Kristen Gibson were a couple that caught balls for him this past year. Who's going to be there at quarterback, and who's going to kind of lead that offense? But once again, Coach May, it feels like just like they're taking a little step at a time. Like last year, they were better than they were the year before. The numbers and the wins haven't necessarily shown it out, but the product was better. But kind of like we mentioned with Poplar Bluff, I don't necessarily know if that's going to mean there's going to be more wins, just because
I would agree.
The schedule is the schedule. You play these tough teams in conference already that you're not going to be favored against Jackson or Farmington or Cape Central. So that's tough already. If you're Sykeston, you're playing at Dexter, who's maybe the second best team from Jackson South, in Southeast Missouri. You're going, you've got Charleston at the end of the year is always a fun rivalry. You're hosting New Madrid. So, you got some games in here that you could win, but also you're going to have to maybe beat some people that you shouldn't if you want to even get past that 3-win mark.
Yeah, for them, I want to see what they do against Park Hills in week 1.
Yeah.
If they can win that game, I think that's going to open up some eyes and say, okay, Sykeston's better. Sykeston has a chance to have a decent year. If they get beat up in week 1, then it's going to be a tough year for Sykeston.
For sure. And then, they start out so tough, man. Park Hill Central and Dexter both on the road. They have not beaten Poplar Bluff. 7 straight losses to Poplar Bluff. That's my question. Can they beat Poplar Bluff?
They're getting close to 30 losses in conference.
Can they get over the hump? I don't know. I mean, just picking purely based off just what I have seen, what I know, I am still going to lean Poplar Bluff ahead of them. Now, look, they've gotten close. Poplar Bluff beat them by a touchdown this past year. So we're there. They're there, but they have not been able to get over the hump. It's just going to kind of be I want to see it to believe it type thing for them. I think I'm going to echo you there because Jackson at the top. I think Farmington definitely is the number 2. Cape has just too many questions for me right now as far as what they've lose versus what Farmington loses, and Farmington already has they beat them twice last year.
Right.
So I'm gonna go Cape 3. I'm gonna go Poplar Bluff 4. And that's another one. I mean, Poplar Bluff went to Cape last year, lost 28-22.
Yeah, it was a good game.
It's going to be a good ball game. I think it's going to be very competitive once again. It's going to be at Poplar Bluff, but I will stand strong there for the Tigers. I think I'm going to hold out.
So look at the opponent's points per game between the two teams from last year.
Yeah.
Look at the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's the difference.
Yeah, exactly. Cape Central, 18 points a game allowed. Poplar Bluff, 32. And like you said, they lose quite a bit on that side still. So, yeah, and that is where Cape Central is going to hang their hat. And I'm gonna believe in the Tigers. I'm interested to see that Cape Central Farmington game again this year. It's going to be at Farmington in the regular season. There's a good chance they see each other twice, playing in districts as well. So I'll be interested to see that matchup. But yeah, I definitely think Farmington's going to be the number 2 team in the SEMO Conference, and I'm excited to see what it looks like. Give me 2 minutes on anybody else. You know, hey, I've got a nephew that plays for such and such in the Boot Heel, or where I have a cousin that plays at one of the schools in St. Genevieve or in Perry County or somewhere. Give me any team that should be on radars anywhere in Southeast Missouri. Obviously, like I said, most people watching this, you're a Cape fan, you're a Jackson fan, you're a Saxony Notre Dame fan. I get that, but anybody else that's like, hey, I should keep up at least with what they're doing.
Well, I don't have any relatives playing or any family members or anything like that, but if you just like football in the Southeast Missouri area, you want to know, like, okay, what's a team that has a chance to make some noise when it comes to districts, when it comes to postseason time and beyond? There's probably only a few of those, and one of those is Valley Catholic. That would be one for sure. Can they be in Class 2 this year? That would be a question. Or if they stay in Class 3, I still expect them to have a really good year. Yeah. Valley Catholic's going to be awesome. They're going to beat about everybody. Hayti is another one down south. They're going to be fun to watch. They're going to be a team that's going to run all over the field, throw the ball over the field.
In week 1, those two teams play each other.
And they two play each other. I would be surprised if Hayti wins that game, to be honest with you.
Valley, I think,
Valley is legit, but that doesn't take away for the fact how good Hayti is. They're in a different class. Haytai's in Class 1.
Yeah.
But Hayti still, if they can give them a game, that kind of tells me,
Hayti might be legit.
They're really good. And then Dexter's the other team. Dexter would be the other team to look at in Class 3, probably.
Somebody that we're going to see here for Cape Central playing too this year.
And I'm excited for that game.
That
they haven't played each other in recent memory.
Yeah.
So I think that could be another very competitive game for both of those teams. So it's a good challenge for Dexter. I'm glad that they added them on the schedule. They help beef up their schedule a little bit.
Sure.
So those are some teams that come to mind. But, I mean, there's a number of schools that have an opportunity to have some success and to be competitive this year as well. But those stand out.
Yeah. Yeah. If Valley's in Class 2, there's a good chance you can book your tickets for wherever, St. Joe's.
Yeah.
St. Joe's, a million miles away. Yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited for football. I mean, I believe I'm going to be airing this right before football season kicks off. My plan is Thursday, but drop this out here. So you guys, anybody watching this, get out, go watch football, Rusty, because, I mean, this year especially, it feels like we've got some real talented teams, some contenders in this area where we live, but also up and down the Boot Heel region.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about this before, but if you're somebody that's not tied to a specific school, go look at the schedule. Pick out a game of the week and go and watch because there'll be some really good matchups, throughout the Southeast Missouri area, some really good football out there. There's some small schools that have really great atmospheres,
sure.
and it's a fun time to watch some football there. So, maybe not pick some of the southern teams early on. You have to fight the mosquitoes and the heat, but still, point being, I mean, whether it be watching on TV or just keeping track, watching some of the highlights throughout, reading stories, talking to us people that jabber all the time, on podcasts.
I do that a lot.
So, I mean, pay attention because there's some good stuff going on.
Yeah. There's a lot of kids, a lot of coaches that have spent days and days and days and weeks and months of their life getting ready for this season, So do it if for no other reason than out of respect for those people. They've been, I'm sure all of you watching this have been avoiding going outside as much as possible all summer long because it's been 100 degrees with 80% humidity. Well, guess what? There's been a bunch of coaches away from their families and kids, and there's been a bunch of teenagers showing up at 5:30 in the morning to work out and practice and staying late and going to camps and all that jazz. So no other reason, go do it for them. Go appreciate just kind of the work they've put in and go show out. Go be great fans. This area is some of the best, some of the most supportive. So I'm excited to see kind of the atmospheres we get to run through here this year. And it should be a great time. Rusty, thank you. Thanks for joining me.
You bet. I enjoyed it.
Where can everybody find all of your work at this year, all your various work you're going to be doing this year?
For football side, I'll be on SEMO ESPN Radio, be covering Cape Central, so you can hear me on Friday nights calling their games, and I'll be sprinkled throughout there, and just on Saturday mornings, SEMO Scramble, so you can hear me jabber some more on weekends. I'll be breaking it down each week after the Friday night, so join me Saturday mornings, and we'll talk about what happened the night before on the SEMO Scramble on SEMO ESPN.
There you go. Follow the Facebook page. Rusty will put out graphics, and you should yell at him in the comments.
I got my own rankings out there preseason, so you're welcome and feel free to disagree. I don't care. That's fine with me.
Go get in the
yell at me. So
tell him how he doesn't know ball.
Yeah, that's fine.
Bro doesn't know ball. So anyway, thank you as always, Rusty. It's fun and it's exciting. We're here. We're ready to start football season. So everybody enjoy it. It goes quickly. It's only a few months out of the calendar. By the time it starts getting cold, we'll be wrapping it up. So we've got an exciting 9 weeks here in the regular season. So like we said, we implore you to get out, go watch some football. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a great year. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you all for listening. Have a good one. And we will see you in the next one. Take it easy.